The year is 1812, a year that would become etched in the annals of history, marking the beginning of a conflict that would test the mettle of a young nation. A young nation barely 3 decades old stands poised on the edge of a precipice. The United States, still in its infancy, is a land of promise and potential, yet fraught with internal and external challenges. Across the Atlantic, a mighty empire hardened by centuries of warfare watches with a mixture of disdain and apprehension. The British Empire, with its vast resources and formidable military, views the burgeoning American experiment with a wary eye. The United States of America, a fledgling experiment in democracy, prepares to once again engage in a struggle for its very survival. The call to arms echoes through towns and villages as citizens rally to defend their newfound independence. This is the story of the War of 1812, a conflict often overshadowed by the American Revolution, yet one that would shape the destiny of a nation and etch its mark on the world stage. It is a war that would see battles fought on land and sea, with each skirmish and confrontation adding to the tapestry of history. It is a tale of courage and sacrifice, of cunning strategies and unexpected turns of fate. Brave men and women, both known and unknown, would rise to the occasion, their actions leaving an indelible mark on the nation's legacy. But beyond the well-known battles and famous figures lie secrets, whispers of forgotten heroes and untold stories that reveal the true depth and drama of this pivotal moment in history. These are the stories of individuals whose bravery and determination helped shape the outcome of the war, yet whose names have faded into obscurity. The War of 1812, often referred to as the Second War of Independence, was a conflict fought between the United States and Great Britain, along with their respective allies. It was a war that would see alliances tested and loyalties questioned, as both sides sought to assert their dominance. The war was a culmination of tensions that had been simmering for years, fueled by maritime disputes, territorial ambitions, and the unresolved issues from the American Revolution. The British practice of impressment, where American sailors were forced into service for the Royal Navy, was a particularly sore point, igniting outrage and calls for action. It was a war that would test the young nation's resolve, pushing its military and its people to their limits. The hardships endured by soldiers and civilians alike would forge a sense of unity and purpose as the nation struggled to defend its sovereignty. And as the drums of war echoed across the land, few could have predicted the profound and lasting impact it would have on the future of the United States. The War of 1812 would not only solidify America's independence, but also lay the groundwork for its emergence as a global power in the years to come. The seeds of conflict had been sown long before the first shot was fired. The roots of this discord can be traced back to a series of events and policies that gradually built up tension between the United States and Great Britain. For years, American ships sailing the high seas had been subjected to harassment and seizure by the British Royal Navy. These actions were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader strategy employed by Britain to assert its dominance on the world's oceans. Britain, embroiled in a protracted war with Napoleonic France, was desperate to cut off supplies and manpower from reaching its enemy. The British naval blockades were extensive, aiming to cripple France's ability to sustain its war efforts. To this end, they implemented a policy of impressment, forcibly conscripting sailors from American merchant ships into the Royal Navy. This practice was justified by the British as a necessary measure to bolster their naval forces, but it was seen as a gross violation of American rights. Thousands of American citizens were taken, their cries for freedom ignored. These men were often subjected to harsh conditions and brutal treatment, fueling resentment and anger back home. This blatant disregard for American sovereignty ignited outrage across the nation. Protests erupted in various cities, with citizens demanding that their government take action to protect their rights and interests. Adding fuel to the fire were British actions on the western frontier. The British had long sought to maintain their influence in North America, and they saw an opportunity to do so by aligning with Native American tribes. The United States, eager to expand westward, clashed with Native American tribes who resisted encroachment on their ancestral lands. These conflicts were often violent and bloody, with both sides suffering significant casualties. The British, seeking to undermine American expansion and maintain their influence in the region, provided arms and support to these tribes. This support included not only weapons, but also training and strategic advice, making the Native American resistance more formidable. The belief that Britain was inciting Native American resistance against the United States further inflamed tensions. Many Americans saw this as a direct threat to their nation's security and a clear indication that Britain had not fully accepted American independence. By the early 19th century, the relationship between the two nations had reached a boiling point. Diplomatic efforts to resolve these issues had repeatedly failed, leaving war as the only remaining option for many American leaders. The United States faced a difficult choice: submit to British demands or fight to defend its honor and independence. The debate in Congress was intense, with strong arguments made on both sides. President James Madison, facing mounting pressure from Congress and the American people, ultimately chose the path of war. He believed that only through conflict could the United States secure its rights and assert its sovereignty. On June 18, 1812, the United States declared war on Great Britain, marking the beginning of a conflict that would rage for over 2 years and forever alter the course of American history. This war, known as the War of 1812, would test the young nation's resolve and shape its future in profound ways. The early months of the war were marked by a series of setbacks for the United States. The fledgling nation, still finding its footing, faced numerous challenges on the battlefield. The American military, still in its infancy, was ill-prepared to take on the might of the British Empire. The soldiers, many of whom were inexperienced and poorly equipped, struggled to match the discipline and training of their British counterparts. The invasion of Canada, intended as a swift and decisive strike, quickly bogged down into a series of costly defeats. The American forces, hampered by logistical issues and fierce resistance, found themselves unable to make significant headway. Fort Detroit, a key stronghold on the western frontier, fell to a combined British and Native American force led by the Shawnee chief Tecumseh. This loss was a significant blow, as it not only weakened American control in the region, but also emboldened Native American resistance. The loss of Detroit dealt a serious blow to American morale and left the Northwest Territory vulnerable to British and Native American attacks. The strategic importance of Detroit meant that its capture opened the door for further incursions into American territory. However, amidst these early defeats, there were glimmers of hope. The resilience of the American spirit began to shine through, and small victories started to lift the nation's morale. On the high seas, the fledgling United States Navy scored a series of stunning victories against British warships. These naval engagements showcased the ingenuity and bravery of American sailors. American frigates, smaller and faster than their British counterparts, proved to be formidable opponents. Their agility and firepower allowed them to outmaneuver and outgun the larger British ships. The USS Constitution, commanded by Captain Isaac Hull, earned the nickname Old Ironsides after its victory over the HMS Guerriere, a battle that sent shockwaves through the British Empire and ignited a sense of national pride in the United States. This victory was more than just a tactical win. It became a symbol of American resilience and determination. The United States Navy's success at sea was crucial in the early stages of the war. These victories provided a much-needed boost to American morale and demonstrated that the young nation could stand up to the world's most powerful navy. It demonstrated that the young nation could hold its own against the world's most powerful navy and provided a much-needed boost to American morale. The success of the American frigates became a rallying point for the nation, inspiring confidence and a renewed sense of purpose. These victories also disrupted British supply lines and forced them to divert resources to protect their merchant shipping. The impact on British logistics was significant. as it strained their ability to sustain prolonged military operations. The War of 1812 was proving to be a different kind of conflict than the American Revolution. Unlike the earlier War for Independence, this conflict involved complex alliances and multiple theatres of war. It was a war fought on multiple fronts, from the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean, and one that would require all of the young nation's ingenuity and determination to win. The challenges were immense, but so too was the resolve of the American people. As the war progressed, the United States would continue to face both triumphs and trials, each shaping the nation's identity and future.